Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Altered Carbon. Season 1, Episode 7 is called Nora Inu, and full spoilers for the episode, as always. Apologies, it's been a few days since the last episode. That was not planned. We were meant to have one yesterday, but things came up, so
yes,
we're here now. We are hoping to go one per day without any breaks now, from this point on. Whether we hit that's another question, but in theory we should finish late Friday sometime before the weekend.
Yes.
That's the plan, or early Saturday potentially, depending on how late.
Yeah, recording times might lead to that.
But that is the plan. So episode 7, this is a very different episode. This is a flashback episode explaining the backstory of Takeshi and his sister and how they come to meet Falconer, which I kind of guessed almost based on how the last one ended, because you were saying how I don't really know what an Envoy is, like we should know more about this by now, and I'm like, I feel like we're probably going to get that next time because how this one ends. We're probably going to get the flashback to how they all came to be with this, and sure enough, that's exactly what this is, which potentially I think makes it the best episode so far.
I don't know about that. There are definitely things I like in this episode, but I do have some problems which hold it back a bit for me.
I think it is the best one, mainly because I think the actor who plays OG Takeshi is actually better.
I won't dispute that. That's clear.
He has more soul in him. You know, when he's like talking to other people. Obviously, there's the odd narration from Kinnaman that obviously I don't want that. That can go away. But the for the most part, the flashback story, I like most of it. Like, you know, there were some nice pretty moments when they're on that bridge and they're kind of like having their heart to heart, and like the idea that he became a SeaTac officer first, and then as soon as he runs into his sister, who he was told was going to be sent to like a foster family, actually didn't. She ended up getting sold to the Yakuza. They end up just taking out everyone they work for on both sides together. That was a pretty fun action sequence.
It was. I will say, I don't know if they've been doing this all season, but it felt really heavy on the slow motion and the action sequences in this episode.
Yeah, I think they have been. Yeah.
I don't know. It felt particularly heavy in this episode.
I'm fairly certain the opening action scene of episode 1, just from memory.
I think it did have some, but like it hasn't been as prevalent throughout the season, I don't feel.
Yeah.
So this really stood out as there was a lot of it, which I wasn't too much of a fan of.
That's fair. That's fair. It's funny actually, because the one thing that I really like about the show generally is how the city looks, and it's amusing that the best episode I think so far is the one where there's almost no city. It's all just in a forest or whatever. Yeah. A couple of little buildings here or there, but that's basically where it is. And it's just the story of them coming to, like, you know, Falconer meets them and then like recruits them. He's more game than his sister is, but she goes along with them. They don't want to split up. And it's all about the training, resisting the digital interrogation, you know, because we know that you can kind of do that.
That leads into one of my major problems with the episode, is there are complete scenes that I feel like I've seen this entire scene already in previous flashbacks, and I'm like, okay, this is the longest episode by far. If you cut away most of the stuff we'd already seen, it would probably be more in line with a normal episode. Yeah,
probably. I think the scene here, like as you say, like of her like talking to him about how he has to break out of the virtual reality torture. Like, you can break out of this. I think it was a better scene than the time we've seen it before, but it is really similar in terms of what it's doing.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably better in this episode, but it suffers because I've already seen it. I've already done this. It's
better because we have more context for who Falconer is. They're building the relationship. I just care more about him. I think this is part of the problem so far with Kovac, is that it wasn't until this episode where I actually see the story of how he goes to be a soldier just to give his sister a nice life, and then, oh no, turned out they lied.
Yeah, like, it's kind of late in the season for that, isn't it?
It is. And it feels like the right place to have the full-on flashback to like really get the story. But there's just a couple of things where it feels like we should have known some of this earlier just to care about him a little bit more.
It is. And as much as I'm complaining about, okay, why am I seeing this again? It's more of a fault of maybe we shouldn't have been having these flashbacks earlier, because now they feel redundant, even though these are arguably the better ones.
Yeah, I think what should have happened when he was being tortured in VR before is that instead of seeing Falconer inside his head and like getting the advice again, he should have just like done it. He should have just like got strong and just broke out, and we'd be like, oh, he can do that, and maybe have like the lab tech go, he shouldn't be able to do that. How did he break out?
And then we learn it here.
Yeah, like that could have that'd have worked, I think.
I agree.
But you know,
like there's also like the scene where Falcon, just like, oh, weapons, you don't need them. Come on, take me down. I'm like, we saw most of this fight already in another flashback, like the exact fight, this exact scene. We saw most of this already. It's slightly extended, but it kind of feels like why am I watching it twice?
When did we see this exact fight before?
I'm sure. Did we not?
We saw him in the forest, and she was giving a speech about training them something. I don't remember this fight though.
I remember bits of it. Maybe this is just weird deja vu. Maybe
I'm
sure it's all bits of this.
You could be right. Maybe I'm just blanking on it. But
this is it. I'm not confident enough, 100%, to say no. We definitively saw this. But in my mind, I'm like, I've seen this. A shorter, cut down version of it. Because
I certainly didn't remember the weapons are weak, and then giving them weapons to come and get her. Like I don't remember that at all. Right, that definitely felt new to me. But I mean,
I'm not sure which of us is right on this one. I'm not willing to stake my reputation on this. This could be me having weird deja vu.
I would assume I'm right just because I don't understand why you'd be right, if that makes sense. Because it would be the weird wrong thing to do.
Yeah, no.
But I mean,
it's either I'm remembering something that didn't happen and having deja vu, or you're forgetting something that did happen. Either or. I'm
not sure which one's more likely.
I'm not either.
Oh dear. But yeah, so they kind of body. It gives like Takeshi, who's never really had purpose. It gives him some sort of purpose, which is why he's sort of clinging on to it. And I think you could tell, but when his sister, when Ray, like throughout the episode, is kind of like against joining her, and he's like, against giving her life and going on the suicide mission, like she's against all these things. It's kind of obvious what the twist is building up to. I mean, maybe not exactly, but you're like, okay, so she's a villain, right? Like we're building up that she's going to be
clearly not into this.
Yeah, so we see them take off, and like they've killed everyone. They've actually like downloaded like stuff into everyone's like stacks, so they all basically go nuts and kill each other. And like Takeshi comes in and like sees the aftermath.
It would have been cool to see some of that.
Some of it, yeah.
Not too much. I don't want to lose the effect. The horror of just walking in on everyone like this was pretty good, but just a hint of it would have been really cool to see.
I did like how, because we've seen that low down shot of him in the forest before as he looks up in shock. So I did kind of like how when we see what that's actually a reaction to, it kind of okay. So he thinks the love of his life and his sister just got blown out of the sky. Like that's that moment.
I'm not gonna lie. I did laugh when he goes, "Oh, she got away. You ain't getting her."
And then immediately,
why'd you do that?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, of course. You just, as soon as he says that, it's like, okay, I know what this is now.
And of course she beams out, because she's made a deal with SeaTac. She's the one who's double-crossed them, told them where they are, and she beams out of her stack at the last second before the explosion.
Well, it kind of been at the very last second, because that was the whole point. She doesn't remember.
Oh, sure, yeah, you're right.
So it'll be she was just backed up before that.
Right. Nah, it's because she puts a thing on, she presses a button, so I was reading that as... But you're right, no, it's like...
I think that was just a homing beacon.
It may have been. Because he even specifically says there's only one way, because I'll give them credit, they set this up, because we knew from Bancroft that he didn't remember...
Episode 1.
Yeah, he didn't remember his last 2 days because it's only backed up every 48 hours. And he's like, hey, so as soon as she said like that, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, like that's why she doesn't remember. So that worked. That was cool. Then the twist itself. So we find out that the crime boss that the Ghost Walker has been working for, as well as the little girl from episode 2, and who's the third one?
The woman who put the man in the snake.
Ah, there you go. So we find out all these people, and I'll give them credit. It never actually occurred to me that we'd get a twist where the villain's been in like all these different bodies all season, even though it's such an obvious thing to do in this premise.
It's so obvious, and I'm like, how did we not see it? But I didn't either. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I had any idea, but it does seem really obvious once you see it.
So it's a neat twist. Here's the weird thing about all this, though, because I think the Envoy past, him and his sister, are the more interesting parts of the plot of the show, right? What I think's really funny is that, okay, I like this twist, I like kind of what this is maybe setting up for the rest of the season. It makes the fight a bit more personal, it gives him a conflict of interest because he wants to beat her because she's evil, but it's his sister and he loves her, and it's setting up some character stuff. this has nothing to do with Bancroft whatsoever or the case. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure she's going to somehow turn out to be involved in his attempted murder, right?
But it's very convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, but outside of the possibility that it's connected to that later on, and we find out that it was connected, it doesn't actually have anything to do with what the start of the show was. Oh, we're going to solve this murder.
This is what I was saying last time. I was sold a murder mystery, and this is not a murder mystery at this point.
But I like this way more than all the Bancroft stuff, so I'm not even complaining about that.
I can't
really.
argue with that.
So,
I do particularly like that she's that that new villain whose name I can't remember. I do like that she's him because
he was underwhelming as himself. Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, oh, why are we introducing someone new now?
And I actually liked that they flash back to that moment in VR when he says, "Is that you, Kovac, or is that you,
Takeshi?" Yeah, I did like that as well because I was like, okay, clearly we knew this person recognized him, but based on this, but I thought it was based on reputation at the time.
And I think that so because sometimes we complain if they do little flashbacks like that, and it feels like, oh, we didn't need that. I feel like this one we did because it was worth seeing that with the new information that because it changed because we knew it was someone else.
It does. It plays differently, and I'm actually going to defend the flashbacks on all three of these because especially the other two were such minor characters that we'd seen.
Yeah.
That I feel like if they just showed me those bodies, I wouldn't have known who they were because they were literally in like one scene each.
I might have gotten the little girl because there was only one little girl all season.
That's true.
But yeah, the snake lady, I would never have remembered who she was ever.
No chance.
So that was fair. And I mean, even the guy, like we only saw him once, and when we did see him, like we got one scene with him talking to the other dude, and then we got the VR scene.
Yeah, which is hard to tell anyone because they're all.
Yeah, it's all funky colours and.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatnot. The episode didn't have any of the other characters. No Ortega, no Poe or anyone like that. So it was very focused, and I think that's probably why I think it is the better of the episodes because it was. I didn't necessarily love everything. Some of it was kind of just going through the process of telling the story, but it was kind of this thing where I can see this episode in other shows, and it's like it's doing the direct. Like I think if I cared more about the whole show as a whole, this episode would play even better. But on its own, like it does everything it needs to do properly. It works.
No, it does. I can't fault for that. Like I say, I found some repetitive moments and so that, but in general, it's like you're right. This is the most focused episode. It knows what its story of the episode is, and it's doing it. It's not getting distracted by random other things that don't matter.
And I hope somehow Falconer survived. Because I like her. Now that we've gotten some time to actually spend with her and she's not just in his head,
I've been expecting all season for this because I was like, okay, like when we said when the sister showed up originally, we were like, oh well, it was going to be her or Falconer. I think we've been expecting all season for them to be kind of alive in some way.
Yeah, because so the key things we find out, she is dead set against the idea of people living forever. Because the idea that the 1%, because the one thing that was in place to make sure this was never too, the 1% never became too powerful, is that eventually they had to die, right? And with that gone, they could just keep amassing more wealth, and it means that like the cutoff just gets higher and higher. Like there's just it becomes even more and more segregated because of that. So that's the main goal of the Envoys, is they're against that. And then the sort of little twist we get later on is that she created the Envoy, and he's like, no, but the woman who created, the stack, you know what I meant. She created that technology, and Takeshi's like, no, that was so and so, and I did feel like maybe we should have heard her name before because then that'd have played just like a little bit of recognition.
No, I agree with that. Even this is a weird thing to defend here. Do you remember the opening episode? And we complained a lot about the exposition speech of what a stack was.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to give us that speech, you might as well, and the history of the stack, you might as well have thrown that name in there.
Yeah, and that hologram scene, when the hologram's explaining what it is. Yeah. Just the stack was created in year blah 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 by blah blah blah. That should have been in there because when she said the name or he said the name, and then she's like, yeah, that was me, I changed my name. I'm like, okay, that'd have been cool if we'd heard that name before, because then we'd have it'd be like, oh yeah, we'd heard that already.
It feels like that's the sort of person who should be remembered in general. Like there should be monuments to that sort of person in society.
Yeah,
maybe we'd seen like a statue or something.
And that's the thing. I like her goal was mainly because she wanted to live long enough to like see other planets, go, do all these things, be an explorer. But obviously, space travel takes a long time. This was like designed to like make that possible, make lifetimes longer, so you could take it all in. But then she realized what she'd created, and that's why she's like started the Envoys and why they're against us. And I thought, okay, all right, I like all these ideas.
It's a very typical, scientists create something for good, then realizes it can be used for evil.
Yeah,
it's a very, it's a classic story, and I like that. I do. That's not a complaint. Again, some of the show has been, okay, this is an idea we've seen before. That's not necessarily a problem.
I like Kovac not wanting the sleeve to be killed, because he's like, no, save the sleeve, because he knows Ortega cares about what's his name?
Oh, Riker.
There you go, Riker. So he's like, no, save the sleeve, don't let this body die. And she's like, I don't know why, but okay.
Yeah.
And she does. Like, it's still him for the time
she
being.
Does. I am interested to see their relationship at this point. Why is she doing this? Why is she being so antagonistic to him? Because she still seems to care enough to save him.
I think she does care about him still.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's got her own devious plans for whatever she's doing, and this is the thing. She's had about 250 years with him on ice to grow and develop and.
Yeah, and we don't really know what her ideology is at this point. We know that she kind of went, okay, no, I want to keep Stax around, essentially. I want to leave the status quo. 250 years ago, that's why she sabotaged it all.
Yeah, and we know she was hiring the Ghostwalker, so she is indirectly responsible for Ortega and her partner and all the stuff that happened in the station.
What I find interesting is the Ghostwalker's ideology is very similar to the Envoys of no, Stacks are bad. We should only, because it's like he's very religious, right? And it was like, no, we get one life.
Actually, it's worth mentioning. You see, when he was like, we had all these like chambers with the bodies inside them, and he was like wiping the frost off to see like who was inside.
Yeah.
I actually thought the Ghostwalker was going to be one of them. I thought it was going to be her. It was the Ghostwalker.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't, at least yet. I mean, there was more chambers. There could be more.
Exactly. We don't know, but no, that's a fine point.
But hey, but yeah, I liked what it was done. I think it is the best episode of the show. It doesn't necessarily raise my opinion of the show as a whole up, really. Like, it's still in that kind of, it's a fine, like.
It was a very solid episode.
Yeah, like this was a better episode. The show has basically become like this sort of fine 6 out of 10. It's pretty, not very deep, but shallow.
And mostly enjoyable enough.
Yeah.
With problems at times.
Yeah, but nothing special or great. And I wouldn't say this episode was special or great, but it rose from that 6 out of 10 level up to like a 7.5. Whereas it's actually doing things properly here for the most part.
No, that's fair. It took its time with its story beat, and it knew what it was, and it was just like, okay, let's just do that instead of trying to do a million things, and it did help it a lot.
Yeah, and I care more about Kovac as a character now. Admittedly, that'll diminish a little bit when it's back to being Kinnaman again playing him. Unfortunately, as much as the idea is that it's the same character in different bodies, ultimately the actor playing each one is going to have an impact on what we see and hear. And
yeah. I will say the Kovacs that we got in the past seemed a little softer, and I get you can say, oh no, it was the death of Falconer hardened him up at the end there, but I don't know. I like Kinnaman seems to be playing it a little too gruff. Now that I've seen this,
I mean, it's worth mentioning there was some time passage before he got caught, because obviously we see him get caught in like a hotel, like in the first episode. So who knows how much time passed from when he survived this.
There's time for him to harden up, but from what we've seen here, it feels like he's playing it a little bit gruffer than he needs to.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But hey, no, I have this. Obviously, there's a very antagonistic other envoy who's in training, who's always like giving him shit and complaining.
Because he was CTAC, and he's like, he's a spy.
Yeah. Almost to an annoying degree where he just never shuts up about not trusting him. So okay, we get it, right?
No, that's true. There's things I like going into their base cave and seeing the tree, and I was like, okay, that's one of those times where we saw that flashback before, when he was looking up at the tree very early on, and we saw a flash to this tree. But here, it's like, that gives it context. That was nice.
Yeah, because before it was just like the one glimpse of just the one shot looking up at it, whereas here it was like, no, here's where it is, why it's important,
Yeah, why this means something to him.
And also, I mean, I can't remember the name of the planet, but it tells us what planet he's on, because they mentioned at the start, that these trees come from whatever.
Yes.
And then here we see, this is where they were training, they were on that planet.
Yeah.
So no, so there's some world building in there, which is.
And like I say, the world itself is pretty solid, so it's been good on the world building. It's a pretty enjoyable episode. I had some nitpicks, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. But obviously we're going back to the regular show now. We have 3 episodes left.
I was like, is it 4?
Nah, bad math. Forget me. But yeah, we got 3 episodes left, and obviously we've ramped up. We've revealed, who the real villain is of the season. Hopefully that gives it some drive and momentum. Obviously, I like her a lot as an actress. So
yeah, I really want to see what her goal is as a villain. Why is she doing this? That's what I need out of the next episode.
And in terms of action, I feel like we're going to get some pretty badass fights out of her.
Oh yeah, she's capable of that.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to get some good one-on-one fights.
Yeah. This is it. I like what this has done because like I said, it makes it personal. I feel like the action should be solid. There's good reasons for all of this. I just want to know what her goal is because she's different. She's clearly got this criminal empire at this point, and she's got plans in motion. I'm intrigued. I want to know what they are. I want to know why she's doing this, and the sooner I learn that, the better, because I want to have reason to care about why she should be taken down.
Yeah. Like I say, her being behind Ortega, almost being killed, helps a little bit. I wonder if she's going to end up being behind, why Lizzie's the way she is. And
it immediately makes her sinister, doesn't it?
Yeah. She's got a sinister streak, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. So, obviously, we'll be back at episode 8. Should be tomorrow, so let us know what you think of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, and you can do that over there. There's a link in the description, but otherwise that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?